Central Bank of Nigeria to sell treasury bills worth 1 trillion naira in the last quarter of 2019. Now, Afrexim Bank supports Nigerian manufacturers with $500 million facility. Navy, NNPC collaborates to curb crude oil theft. Details of these and more on this edition of Business Express, reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We will x-ray the effects of diplomatic tensions on economic relationships with South Africa. I am Amina Nujaim. Thank you for joining us. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says it plans to sell treasury bills worth 1 trillion naira between October and November 2019. Now, this is based on the bank's treasury bill issue program. The Apex Bank also noted it plans to raise 91.6 billion naira in the 91-day maturity period treasury bills, while for the 182-day maturity period treasury bills, the CBN says it will raise 90.2 billion naira and another 821.8 billion naira for the 364-day maturity period bills. Still on the Apex Bank, the CBN has urged the Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria, ABCON, to evolve an effective self-regulation that will ensure full compliance of the operators. Deputy Director, Other Financial Institution Supervision Department of the Apex Bank, Mustafa Haruna, says there is need for Bureau de Change operators to ensure compliance with extant anti-money laundering and combating financing of terrorism laws and regulations to mitigate the risk and vulnerabilities in the subsector. He says ABCON should develop and implement a code of conduct for members to promote ethical practices and transparency in the sector. The African Export-Import Bank, Afrexim, says it will allocate $500 million from its Nigeria-Africa Trade and Investment Promotion Fund to support Nigerian manufacturers. The bank's president said the facility would enable manufacturers to take advantage of the opportunities offered by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. He explained that the opportunities for African manufacturers under the AFCFTA was phenomenal and that intra-regional trade in the manufacturing sector would rise to more than $150 billion by 2022. The dollar steadies as risks on mood holds ahead of U.S. job data. Let's see how the naira is exchanging for other international currencies. The federal government says it will continue to take proactive actions to reposition Nigeria's transportation sector. Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi stated this when he received the certificate for the concession of electronic tickets in Abuja.
Chaos, touting and ticket racketeering seem to overwhelm stations at the Abuja-Kaduna standard gauge railway line. Passengers flying the route have consistently called for the introduction of electronic ticket to tackle this challenge. As the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, received the certificate of concession for e-ticket, he maintained that government is committed towards providing efficient infrastructural facilities in the country.
But this will go a long way to reduce the madness. The moment we get more coaches plus this, then we'll completely eradicate the current madness that's going on at the different stations.
Besides enhancing passengers' convenience, reducing fraud and cost, the e-ticketing system in the next 10 years is expected to generate about 16 billion naira to the federal government.
We are following the due process to ensure that we get it right, so you don't rush in and rush out.
This is part of the next level agenda of His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari to address the huge deficit of infrastructure we have.
Federal government is expected to commence the implementation of the e-ticket for the Abuja-Kaduna train service in the next 3 months.
And to discuss the economic implications of the latest xenophobic attacks in South Africa, we have Dr. Modestus Nsou. Welcome to Business Express.
Thank you,
It's
ma.
a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, ma.
Now, with the latest activities in South Africa, there has been a backlash across many African countries, including Nigeria. What would you make about the aftermath and the effects of these across board?
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate that this thing is happening again. You know, it happened sometime a few years back, and it's coming again. You see, in as much as we condemn it in its entirety, it has a very serious economic implication on the African continent.
And what's that?
Fine. Let us analyze it properly. What South Africans are attacking are private businesses. A business owned by a Nigerian and managed by Nigerians. But Nigerians are attacking businesses owned by South African and managed by Nigerians. I don't think anybody...
But it's not only Nigerian businesses
I
that
know,
are
I'm
being
coming.
attacked.
The same thing every other place, even in the Zimbabweans, other neighboring Africa, Angolans, it cut across every other thing. The businesses they are attacking, they are businesses owned by these individuals and managed by these individuals. A business owned by a Nigerian, managed by a Nigerian. A business owned by an Angolan, managed by an Angolan. We've not had any record of any business owned by a Nigerian and managed by South African being attacked. Are you getting the point there? So the economic implication is that if you attack MTN, for instance, in Nigeria, I have never been to MTN and seen any South African attending to me. We will lose our jobs. You go to standard IBTC, from the gate man to the manager of the place, you talk of Nigerians not South Africans. So we are going to lose this. But what they are losing there is just those small units.
So looking at the
globally, if you look at it globally, the countries that are closing down all these multinationals, they are going to lose. If you close down MTN, you have only closed down a unit of their income. MTN is everywhere. MTN is a multinational company. Standard BTC Bank is a multinational company. And ShopRite, you're talking, is everywhere. You have ShopRite in US, you have ShopRite in London, everywhere. So you have closed just an outlet of their income.
Okay.
Yeah. But you are shutting down the employment. I know the economic implication of what we are gaining from this in the tax we are collecting from all these multinational companies and all that.
Okay, now still talking about businesses operating in Nigeria by other countries. Available data shows that South Africa accounts for about 10% of Nigeria's export, and over 90% of this is in oil and gas, with less than 10% being non-oil export. What does this mean for bilateral relations?
Yes, you can see the analogy there.
Yes.
Yeah. We need them as much as they need us. So I think this thing should be resolved diplomatically as quick as possible. As quick as possible. Because if it's not done now, if there should be Nigeria have withdrawn their High Commission from South Africa, you know. So if South Africa should retaliate, you can see the economic implication. It means that this 10% export this thing will be dropped, and then we retaliate too.
So what would you say the solution should be?
Well, it's diplomatic resolution. South Africa, we helped them during their independence struggle and this. I don't know why they should. Most of these countries, most of these citizens they are attacking. Let me use the citizens. They are attacking now. They are the people that actually help them. But I think their foreign minister, the foreign affairs minister, I heard her talking on BBC, pleading with Nigerians to stop their citizens from drugs and all the crime they are committing there. And this. So diplomatically, this issue will be resolved. And the earlier we do that, the better, so that it will not worsen.
Now, in talking about solutions, Nigeria is demanding financial compensation for businesses affected in the latest series of events.
Yes.
Is that a step in the right direction? Talking about diplomacy.
You see, like I said before, the businesses the people attack, they are individual businesses. They may not be able, I know South Africa rejected that request. They will not be able to quantify this. Most of these businesses may not be registered to know their worth and what amount are they going to pay for it. I think that is on that ground they now say no, we cannot actually, but let these issues be resolved in good time. I don't know the policies, but I think diplomatically Nigeria and South Africa can come together with the economic implication of these xenophobic attacks, you know, not even in Nigeria and other this thing. You know, mind you, this thing was triggered off by high crime rates in South Africa by foreigners. This thing didn't just start just like that.
Okay, now let's talk about some, well, should I say unfortunate advantage situation. Lots of flights were being cancelled, international flights between some regions in Africa, and particularly about 30% of trips were cancelled. Now, do you see some economies within the region benefiting from this cancellation as routes changing or destinations?
No. We have so many international businessmen, in South African businessmen in Nigeria, as well as we have them in South Africa. So cancellation of flights means so much. It has a lot of economic implications. Talk of a student now that just visited Nigeria to go back to South Africa to take his exam the next day, and you're telling him this thing is cancelled. You know what that means? Talk of a businessman that have negotiated with business partner in Nigeria, that I mean a South African businessman that is coming here to sign a business deal, and you tell him, where will he go to? Will he negotiate the thing in Ghana? And so it has a lot of financial implication on the economy of both countries.
Now, still looking at the African continent on a larger scale, can Africa withstand these kind of hostilities?
It is not the best. There is nothing like peace. You can't talk of a sound economy in the absence of peace. Economies grow in environment of peace. When the environment is not peaceful, when the environment is hostile, there's always a decline. So Africa is worse off when there is economic crisis. Anyway, because our economy in Africa here is very, very volatile and sensitive to external influence.
I'm asking this question in relation to the latest agreement that was signed by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Now, with hostilities with some nations and being friends with another nation, does that affect trade within countries?
Of course. If you're asked to go to South Africa now to do any business, will you go? It will. So it means that there will be trade restriction. It won't be free. Input again. So there will be trade restriction.
So is there a challenge with this treaty now, with what is currently on ground?
But we cannot say that it's going to result to any challenge, but temporarily. But I know that this issue will be resolved.
Okay. Now looking at numbers, how much is Africa losing?
As in,
with this lack of trade, hostilities, investors being not sure of what to do, where to go.
A lot.
In terms of number, quantify, how much is the region losing?
As in dollar or this thing. One thing you should know is that investment, if you talk of aggregate demand of any economy, investment is the most sensitive. It reacts to any external influence, like wars, panics, and bad governance. Any other one can, consumption, you can, but investment, once there is panic, people are scared. Investors are scared. Because that's the life wire of any economy, investment. So they're going to lose more. I cannot say for sure that this is going to, Africans will lose so billions of dollars or billions of, but they're going to lose more because it's going to affect the investment, which is always very, very volatile when it comes to external influences.
Okay, let's talk about looking inwards from the Nigerian side of things. If Nigeria is going to look at what can be done to improve certain areas within her economy, so that she's absorbed of certain shocks when it happens.
Okay, to insulate our economy.
Yes.
It's not, it was when we are practicing, when the world was practicing autarky, when we have a closed economy. That is when you can say you short circuit your country. The world is a global village. It's a global village. Once anything happens in any mostly developed country like US, this say that when the economy of US sneezes, the rest of this thing will catch
same way when Nigeria sneezes, the whole of Africa
exactly. So Africans cannot do without Nigerians. African economy cannot do without Nigerian economy. As well as Nigerian economy cannot do without the rest of African economy. So also with the world as a whole. Because once there is a problem anywhere, remember the 2008 global crisis. We thought that we are insulated, let them suffer it there. What with time? In less than 6 months, we started seeing our banks failing. We started seeing so many businesses closing down. So that is how it is. We can't insulate ourselves. The only thing is that anywhere, anytime you preach for peace to reign globally. Because what affects one country will someday creeping into your own.
Talking about Nigeria being a part of the global village, Nigeria exports a lot of raw materials. Now, within the context of the global space, what advantages can Nigeria tap into?
As in?
Beefing up her economic security.
Yes, if you talk of this thing, now we know our major source of our major exports is our oil. So I think we should be thinking of exporting manufactured goods. By the time we do that, the shock will not. If you have a multiple source of income, if one is attacked, you can be making do with the other. But if it is once that one is attacked, okay, you are in for trouble. The economy is in for trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Modestus Nsowu, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you
for
so much.
Having time to come and join us on the program today. It was indeed a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma. I appreciate it.
Let us now take you to the commodities market as gold prices remained under pressure on Friday following a 2% drop in the previous session. This is also as robust U.S. data encouraged a return to a riskier asset and hit demand for safe haven bullion. The National Bureau of Statistics says the total value of capital importation into Nigeria in the second quarter of 2019 is $5.82 billion. This represents a decrease of 31.41% compared to the first quarter. The Bureau said the figure showed a 5.56% increase compared to the second quarter of 2018. The report also indicated that the largest amount of capital importation by type was received through portfolio investment, which accounted for 73.76%, which was $4.292 billion of total capital expenditure. The Nigerian Navy says it will continue to ensure safety of offshore and onshore government facilities, as well as provide support for all those who use the sea for legal businesses. Chief of Naval Staff Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas stated this when the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation visited the naval headquarters in Abuja. The naval chief said through constant surveillance, speedy response capacity, and law enforcement, the Nigerian Navy has been able to curtail some of the challenges of sea robbery and activities of illegal refineries. Group Managing Director NNPC Mele Kyari said between January and May 2019, more than 21 million barrels of crude has been lost from 4 transportation pipelines in the country. These losses, he said, can be averted through safety and security of government assets, particularly NNPC's offshore facilities, which is why the NNPC is soliciting for more support from the Navy. The Nigerian Stock Exchange closed today in negative territory. The O-share index depreciated by 0.39% to close at 27,146.57 basis points. 311.2 million shares exchanged hands in 3,192 deals valued at 6.4 billion naira. Market capitalization stood at 13.2 trillion naira. Top trades for the day were Guarantee Trust Bank, Access, and Zenith. Losers charts topped by Nestle, Dangote Cement, and Glasgow Smith, while the gainers, Dangote Flour, Zenith Bank, and UACN. Now a look at foreign markets. European markets traded mixed amid Brexit uncertainty. Details of these and more with Bosede Abel.
Market focus is largely attuned to global trade developments after the US and China agreed to hold high-level talks in early October. The news raised hopes that the world's two largest economies could soon make substantial progress in de-escalating their protracted trade disputes. In early trading, European markets traded higher as investors monitored Brexit uncertainty and awaited a fresh batch of economic data. DAX, CAC and FTSE posted gains. Asian markets were also on the rise. The Shanghai Composite topped 0.46% to about 2,999.6. Hang Seng Index 0.66% as of its final hour of trading, and the Nikkei also appreciated 0.54% higher at 21,199.57. U.S. index futures traded higher as investors looked ahead to non-farm payroll numbers due later in the day. Dow futures traded 82 points higher, implying a positive open of more than 50 points. Futures on the S&P and Nasdaq also traded higher but pointed to a slightly negative open, while Africa's stocks traded mixed, with the Nairobi's All Share and Tunisia's Tunidex posting gains, while South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40, Ghana's GSA Composites and Namibia's overall index declined.
Global Market wraps up this edition of Business Express. Our previous episodes are available on YouTube, and our Twitter handle is NTA News Now. Don't forget to join us same time, same station next week on Monday. I am Amina Nujaim saying keep thinking and doing business. Have a lovely weekend.